Okay, guys and gals, I just finished Militeching, or applying Militech, I should say, to my 1911, and I'm going to do a complete reassembly video, including taking down mainspring housing and all the internals. It may take me a while. I don't do this very often. Bear with me. Like so. I don't know why that always seems to give me a little trouble. This side has to be sticking out just maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the mainspring housing back together because it's such a butt without a vise. One of those tools that I need to invest in. Okay, mainspring housing retainer goes on there, and mainspring cap. Insert it in like so. I'm actually going to apply some Militech grease. Now this is the tricky part. What I'm going to do is position my pin in there just a little ways, just so it's hanging on for its dear life, and then plunge and push. It's sticking out a little bit, but I can help it in with a little help with my hammer. Help with my hammer here. Voila! Just lining up your sear and disconnect. You want the sear facing the back, the curve pointing to the back of the gun. And the little bump on the disconnect facing the back of the gun as well. You'll see the holes line up and they form a flush surface right here where the trigger can push on the sear right there. Okay. Now you want to take it like that and slide it up and in. Turn the upside down and drop it in so that the disconnect protrudes out the hole at the top. Now this part is the tricky part, is lining up those holes and placing the pin in there. So what I like to do is get a punch, go in from the right side. There's a better view, I think. There we go. It takes a little bit of fiddling, but you can eventually you'll get it. And then once that's in there like that, you can take your pin and drop it through like that. Now, if you notice here, mine has a slightly different pin. You can see the pin has a slot for the ambidextrous safety, and the pin actually extends out further than most pins do. And you'll see the later I'll show you where the right hand side safety slots through there, as opposed to behind the grip handle like it is traditionally. Alright, so now I'm going to put my sear spring in, and that little notch right there, you want to slide it up into right there above the trigger and drop it in. So it looks like that. Now I'm just going to slide this on here a little bit to keep the sear spring in place. Just a little bit. I decided I'm going to put some grease in here. Militech grease. Pour that in there. Oh yeah, you can see there. Little trigger action. How it moves the sear. I don't think I've ever seen anybody show this before. The internal action when you pull the trigger. But the trigger doesn't push on the sear at all. It pushes on the disconnector. And the disconnector is springed with the leaf spring here. Once up and back, I found that some of the parts actually dried up a bit after my first application of Militech, because the metal actually soaked the Militech up into it. So I reheated and reapplied a thin layer over everything. And I'm in the middle of reassembling, doing the full disassemble, reassemble, and mainspring housing is partially installed. Let's keep going. Okay, so this is where we left off. Sear spring is in place, mainspring housing is partially in place. Let's go ahead and put our hammer in. That's all greased up in there. pulling the trigger in. Actually, I guess you don't need to. Just line up that hole right there. And drop the pin in. Thought I had it lined up. I did need to pull the trigger a little bit. You have to put the grip safety. Dovetail grip safety next. So the safeties are next, but I want to put my detent spring in, and small pin goes forward. There's no lubricant in there actually, so I'm going to squirt a couple of drops of Militech in there. Won't take much. Drop that in there. Pull it out. Put it back in. That way the lube is uniformly distributed. Alright, ready for safeties. Now on my particular pistol, you have to put the right side ambidextrous grip safety on first because of the little notch I showed you before on that pin. So find the right side one. That's the left side one. This is the right side one. And drop it in. And if you'll see here, there's a little lip right there on my safety that supposed to slide through that slot on that pin. I have to have the pin oriented correctly, so I gotta turn the pin just slightly. Disconnected sear. Let me pull the mainspring housing down and let some tension off. There we go. Had the mainspring housing too tight and it was causing too much tension on the sear pin. Okay, so come on now. I've honestly never had this much trouble. I didn't orient it the correct way to begin with, I guess. Come on, turn. There we go. There we go. Alright. Yeah, okay. Alright. Now it's sliding through. Okay, now that locks that pin in place. unlocks the safety in place, the grip safety. Okay. Alright, now I can install the safety on the other side. It has to be at like a 45 degree relative to the slide, and then I hold it there, rotate the gun around, and I can now install the left side thumb safety. And if you see, actually I'll take it out and show it to you. And this one has a slot, and the other side has like a flathead screwdriver piece that slots into that one. So both of them have to be at the same angle, and then that's how they communicate from one side to the other to be attached. So you have to line those up. Okay. So put that back in there. Hold it at that 45 degree angle. Where they line up. Okay. Now that detent, I don't know if you can see that detent right there. It's in the way. So I'm just gonna use a punch and push it in. Like so. And now it's installed. Now we have the first working part that feels like it's done. Okay, now I want to tighten up that tension on the mainspring by shoving it all the way in. Actually, I want to decock first. And decock. Decock. Okay. Now I want to whoops, I went a little too far. Oh man, went too far. I think I'm gonna have to punch it all the way through. Yep. Alright, so note guys, if you go too far on this, don't try to back it up, because that lip catches there on that pin. If you go too far, if you punch it through too far, you have to go all the way through. Start over. So if you want to work on your 1911, get a set of punches, one of these hammers. Makes things so easy, especially for that one pin there. That's basically all you need it for. Some people that do it without tools use their thumb safety to do it. But my ambidextrous ones, the ends of them, the way they meet, they get messed up trying to use it. I've tried it before. Alright, so there's the frame. Completed with the magwell. Rusty piece of shit magwell. Alright, now that I got the frame all assembled, attempt to reassemble the slide. Okay. Alright, so you didn't see that, but batteries went dead. But I just dropped my extractor in there, and it took a few taps with the soft hammer to get it seated flush. And now I'm going to put my firing pin in. Some people have a firing pin spring that I guess has a side to it. Mine looks symmetrical, which I like, and there's no thing for it to snap onto there. So go ahead and drop that down in there. I've already inspected the hole for lint. Okay. I'm gonna need a punch for this. Basically, push that in. Hold it in there, and then slide your firing pin stop the lip of that extractor is hanging over. See that little glint there? It's preventing the firing pin stop from sliding up into that slot. Okay, so that extractor was bothering me a little bit, and all I did was just barely pushed it with my finger back, and I can see now that it will clear. So let's try to put that firing pin in one more time. Militech. I put a couple drops, or just one drop of Militech on the spring. Drop that in there, and I'm going to try and do this by hand without the punch. I can get it almost. Alright, I finally got that firing pin and the extractor in there, the firing pin and firing pin stop. So that's the slide. Alright fellas, so from here on out, it's pretty much just a regular field strip assembly. Barrel. I like to put my barrel lug in now. Don't ask me why, I just do. Got full-length guide rod. Insert that. With the barrel link. Okay. Now, slide that in upside down. There's my headlamp. Slide that in upside down till the barrel lug lines up. Insert the pin halfway. Flip it over. Oop, don't let that scratch the frame. Flip it over. Pull it back to the takedown notch, or half notch, whatever you want to call it. And if you start like on the bottom half of the detent pin, which is just barely down a little bit, and then you push up and in, it'll pop in there like that, no problem. And then slide that forward, put the thumb safety on so it doesn't slide back on you, and now you can insert the spring. Insert the spring in the plug, like so. Ta-da! And there you have a fully assembled 1911 minus the grips. The grips are super easy to put on and off. If you can't take on and off the grips, then can't help you. Let's check everything. Back to slide. Back to slide. Everything seems to be working okay. Decocks and cocks okay. Thumb safety's working. Grip safety's working. Looks beautiful. Now let's check the slide stop. Slide stop's working. It's got a coat of Militech all over it, which is nice.